Is this ASMR? Hey guys, welcome back to Vegetarian's Guide. I am Jada, and today we are doing the ultimate Impossible Burger versus Beyond Burger taste test. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who supported my channel and watched my first two videos. I have some really amazing stuff coming your way. So to stay updated, be sure to hit the subscribe button below, hit that little bell bar so you'll be notified every time I upload, and then just give this video a thumbs up. It's going to help me greatly. Let's dive right in.
Fight!
We're gonna go ahead and jump into preparing the burgers. So I have in front of me the Impossible and the Beyond. I bought the ground beef of both versions of these. And yeah, we're essentially gonna just see how they stack up on a couple of things. So one, how they cook. So essentially the ease of it to cook and you know how they cook, if it burns, whatever the case is. The taste is going to be so huge for this, just to make sure everything tastes good, which one everyone tastes better. And then also the texture we're going to compare as well. So I'm going to prepare these the exact same way using the same ingredients and the same seasoning. So we're going to see which one stacks up. Okay, so I have my kitchen scissors here and I'm just going to use that to open this up. For simplicity purposes, I am going to keep my Beyond on my right hand side and my Impossible on my left throughout the entire video so that we do not get confused. Or most that I don't get confused, right? Off the bat, the Beyond kind of already has a smell to it. It kind of smells, I already know what the Beyond patty smells like. So it kind of already has like a scent to it. I can't really describe it too well. Okay, and let's open up the Impossible. Now the Impossible, I can see through the packet that it kind of, now I know they use beets to make it look like fake blood or whatever the case is, but it's like really, it's kind of aggressively bloody in a sense. Like it has like this reddish color to it, and it's like, it kind of really mimics blood on there. So it's kind of creeping me out. Now for me, I've never had meat before, so I'm not really sure what an actual burger tastes like, but I have tried both of these in restaurants, so I know similar to what each of these would normally taste like. So I'm gonna go ahead and just break them up a little bit. Now it's meant to mimic ground beef, the both of them. So you can use it for burgers, you can use it if you're doing spaghetti, if you're putting it on tacos, nachos, all that type of stuff. So for starters, I'm gonna add in sea salt to both of them. So I'm just gonna use about that much of sea salt for seasoning. Now about that much, right? So that's about, you know, I have measuring spoons here too, but I didn't use them. So we're gonna use about a palmful, I'd say about a teaspoon of sea salt in there. Then I'm gonna use some onion powder and just dash that on there. So I'm eyeballing it. You guys can measure it out if you want to. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, to be honest. And then also some cayenne. If you saw my my nacho video, you'll see that I literally put the same spices and everything. So I'll put sea salt, cayenne pepper, and of course some roasted jeera, which is also known as cumin. So I put that in almost everything that I cook with. It's kind of scary. So that was a lot. So I'm just eyeballing it. I'd say this is about a teaspoon of jeera I'm throwing, and cumin I'm throwing in there. You know what, I'm not gonna put in the full thing. So I'm gonna divide that in two. So that's gonna be a teaspoon of cumin in both of them. Okay. And then, what I'm gonna do next is add in some Italian seasoning. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I guess I'm mixing this with my hand. Again, I'm not really that familiar with like ground beef. Most vegetarian or vegan patties come already pre-made for you. So I guess I'm gonna mix these with my hand. Okay, so I'm gonna mix up the Beyond. So the Beyond right now, I think it was like a shortage in, I don't know if it was a shortage of Impossible Burgers in New York or what, but for a while, like any restaurant you went to was only doing Beyonds because they could not get hold of Impossible Burgers. So a restaurant that I frequent, I mentioned it in my last video, it's called Mother Burger. It's called Mother Burger or Mother Vegan, but if you're in New York, it's on the Upper West Side, like past Times Square. And literally, they have the best, when I say the best, like the best Beyond Burgers. So they'll do like Tex-Mex style, they'll do like so many different forms of Beyond Burger, but it's so good. So right now I'm kind of already leaning to the Beyond just because I've gotten used to it so often, but I have tried the Impossible and it's pretty good. I actually, for the first time in a long time, I'm ashamed to say it, but I went to Burger King the other day and they do the Impossible Whoppers and they do it pretty well. It's not the original formula of what the Impossible were, where it's like really thick and juicy. It's more so like a thinned out, kind of a mass-produced version, but it's still pretty good. And already, again, as I'm saying, like the Impossible kind of has more so of like a greasy, like beet texture to it, where the Beyond was kind of more so sticky and kind of like a pasty texture. So I'm gonna finish this up and then compartmentalize them into burgers. Okay, so now I'm gonna start formulating the patties. I'm starting with the Beyond. Again, it is on my right hand side so I don't forget. Okay, so I'm gonna make them into, I wanna say little balls and press them down. I feel like I could fit more in there actually. So yeah, I'm gonna make the patties about, I wanna say about 3 inches from on each side, and then just press these down a little bit into little balls. What's really funny about when they started making the whole Beyond and Impossible Burgers, and where it's really like meat-like substitutes and meat-like meat-like burgers, is that I remember my brother and I just looking up this movie called, I think it's called Soylent Green. So if you're familiar with it, you definitely don't, I think it was a big deterrent to even trying the Beyond and the Impossible initially when they first came out. Because if you're not familiar with the movie, it's about this new, it came out in like the 70s or 80s, I think. But it's about like this new plant-based meat that's super healthy and like essentially the Beyond and Impossible patties. But come to find out that they were made out of human meat. And that's what people were eating in the movie. So it was just kind of gross initially when they came out. You're just like, I'm sure these are fine for you, but it's just knowing what the movie was about and then knowing just like how history is kind of playing out, it was a big deterrent. It was kind of weird. It was a little sus, not gonna lie.
You gotta tell them Silent Green is people!
So the 16 ounce made 4 patties and we're done. This one's a little smaller than the other 3, but he's the baby. He's the last child. Okay, so we're done with the Beyond. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the Impossible, and then we're gonna fry them all up. So let's go ahead and do the same for the Impossible. I'm a little curious as to how many these are gonna make since the 16 ounce made 4 patties. So I think I can get 4 out of here too, but they're gonna probably have to be a little smaller. I'm actually pretty impressed by just the way, I guess the progression of vegetarian food in general. Now, when I was younger, just growing up a vegetarian and getting veggie burgers, we had Morningstar and Boca. So if you're familiar with those brands, they're pretty, like they're good brands, they're good burgers, but you get like your pre-made circle patties. They come in like a couple different flavors, but it wasn't as tasty and expansive as these. Now, one of the cool things, as I said about the Beyond, is that it doesn't have soy inside. And literally everything vegetarian or vegan back in the days were made with soy. And if you're trying to stay away from soy, it's not necessarily the best thing for you and for your body. So if you're trying to stay away from it, you didn't really have a choice, unless you just did fully like raw diet or fully vegetables, like fruits and veggies, and just found different alternatives that way. It wasn't like, yeah, you didn't really have that many options. So we are all done with the Impossible, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go hop over to the stove and let's go ahead and fry these bad boys up. Alright guys, so you're gonna see me adding the burgers into a cast iron pan. Now I'm cooking on a low to medium heat, just simply because cast iron heats up very quickly. Now I've added in a little bit of olive oil as well to each pan to make sure that the burgers do not stick to the pan or each other. Now, if you look over on the left-hand side, the Beyond is definitely a lot more juicy of a burger. It's produced a lot of the beet juice that it was made with. Whereas if you look over on the right, the Impossible Burger is definitely a drier patty. It's already started to turn gray as I'm cooking it. Now, I've definitely had to be very gentle while I was flipping it because I did not want the burgers to fall apart on me. Now, on each side, I've cooked each burger about 5 to 7 minutes on each side, just to make sure that they were cooked through thoroughly. And of course, I've covered it while I cooked and add a little bit of that vegan Daiya cheese just for some additional flavor and yumminess. Should I be a lady and cut it in half? Should I be a lady and cut it in half? Should I be a lady and cut it in half? Okay guys, so we just finished frying everything up. I've already assembled the burgers. So I put some romaine lettuce, some tomatoes, I grilled up some onions, and of course you saw me put vegan cheese on there. I was using Daiya cheese, so the Daiya cheddar style cheese. I'm actually not the hugest fan of vegan cheese, but the Daiya I find tastes similar to real cheese, and it has a pleasant taste to it, so I don't mind it that much. Okay, so before I jump in, I'm just gonna add some ketchup. Let me know in the comments below if you are a ketchup or a mustard person. Oh, I could put it on this side. Or both. I'm more so a ketchup girl. Don't mind mustard, but I don't want to confuse the flavors today. So, some quick notes before I go ahead and take a bite. The Beyond grilled pretty much, I think it grilled the best in my opinion. As I said, the consistency was kind of sticky, so it held together really well. Whereas the Impossible, it was kind of crumbly. It fell apart a little bit in the pan, as I'm sure you guys will see. And then also, it's kind of, if you see closely, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's kind of falling apart a little bit as well. So it was kind of hard to manage and maneuver. As I said, a lot of veggie burgers will fall apart on you. So that was not something that I didn't like when I was cooking this. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the Beyond Burger first. And I'm gonna take a bite out of it. Wow. Okay. Okay, so off the bat, the Beyond tasted really good. It tasted like any Beyond burger that I've had before. I really did like the consistency of it. It was kind of crunchy and chewy. I cooked it through very, very nicely. The only thing, I think I could have added a little bit more seasoning just so that the flavors popped a little bit more. So now I'm gonna go ahead and dive into the Impossible Burger. So this taste test is probably one of the hardest things for me to come to a conclusion on. So let's break it down. In terms of the cooking test, The Beyond cooked a lot better than the Impossible Burger did. Now it held its own, it cooked like a regular burger. The Impossible, as I showed you guys before, it was kind of breaking apart a little bit as I cooked it, and I kind of had to maneuver and handle it more delicately than the Beyond did. So that was kind of annoying, but again, just a small thing to be aware of while you're cooking it. In terms of which one is healthier for you, you guys kind of have to make that own judgment call. The Beyond is my personal favorite in terms of it doesn't have soy. They're both gluten-free, but the Beyond doesn't have soy, whereas the Impossible has soy, but also it has some more vitamins in there, and it's a little healthier on the scale than the Beyond does. So in terms of which one is better for you, you guys would have to make that own judgment. As I said before, more people are tending to stray away from soy nowadays, so that's where I tend to lean more to eating the Beyond regularly. Now, in terms of what we are all here for, the taste test, now this was so hard for me. Now, mind you, I enjoyed both burgers, and I'm going to go and dive into these after this, but now I have to say the Beyond, although again we had the same amount of seasoning in both of them, the Beyond kind of lacked in flavor for me. I find that now that when I cook it from home, from scratch, I'm gonna have to add more seasoning, add maybe a little bit more salt, just to kind of beef up the flavor a little bit more. No pun intended. Now, the Impossible, it had its own flavor. It really absorbed all of the spices that I added into it. And you know what? It takes the cake. My winner for the Impossible versus Beyond goes to the Impossible Burger. Guys, this has been the Impossible Burger versus Beyond Burger at home ultimate taste test. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys decide to make these burgers at home. When you do, just tag me in it. I want to know which one is your personal favorite. Be sure to like this video, give me a thumbs up, so hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and come back next time because I'm going to be making some more vegetarian and vegan meals. Bye. Should I be a lady and cut it in half?